Welcome to this Sunday edition of Market Mantra, the program in which we give you a complete update on the economic and business news of the day. And today we'll also be taking calls from you on mutual fund and related issues. You can call us on 2331-4444, 2371-7106, 2371-7117. My name is V. Ravi Kumar and with me is my co-anchor in Hindi, Ambarish Saxena.
नमस्कार। आर्थिक खबरों के कार्यक्रम मार्केट मंत्र में आपका स्वागत है। आज रविवार है और हर एक रविवार की तरह आज भी हम म्यूचुअल फंड से जुड़े आपके सवालों को प्रोग्राम में शामिल करेंगे। आप सवाल पूछने के लिए हमें सीधे फोन कर सकते हैं। हमारे फोन नंबर हैं 23314444 और 23717106 और तीसरा नंबर है 23717117। दिल्ली से बाहर के श्रोता इन नंबरों से पहले एसटीडी कोड 011 भी डायल करें। आपके सवालों का जवाब देने के लिए आज कार्यक्रम में आमंत्रित है म्यूचुअल फंड एक्सपर्ट धीरेन्द्र कुमार। धीरेन्द्र, कार्यक्रम में आपका स्वागत है।
धन्यवाद आपका।
पहले हेडलाइंस लेके मौजूद हैं वी रवि कुमार। The youth power of the country is a strong pillar of New India, says Prime Minister Narendra Modi. 12th WTO Ministerial Conference starts in Geneva today after a gap of 5 years. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal heads Indian delegation, and Brent crude oil prices rise for the third straight week, while US crude jumps for sixth consecutive week.
प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी ने कहा है कि देश की युवा शक्ति नए भारत का मजबूत स्तंभ है। WTO के मंत्रियों का 12वां सम्मेलन स्विट्जरलैंड के जिनेवा में 5 वर्षों के अंतराल के बाद आज शुरू हो रहा है। वाणिज्य और उद्योग मंत्री पीयूष गोयल भारतीय प्रतिनिधिमंडल का नेतृत्व कर रहे हैं और कच्चे तेल के अंतर्राष्ट्रीय मूल्यों में लगातार 7वें सप्ताह उछाल दर्ज किया गया। ब्रेंट क्रूड में इस सप्ताह लगभग 2% की बढ़त दिखाई दी।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that in the last 8 years, NDA government has enabled the youth to achieve their dreams and fulfill their potential. Mr. Modi said India's Yuva Shakti is the greatest strength. He said the country's youth is excelling in different sectors and contributing to the nation's progress. Mr. Modi shared the details of the government's efforts for youth development in the last 8 years. From entrepreneurship to sports, every field is now becoming accessible to youth from all sections of society. The Prime Minister said the youth power of the country is the strong pillar of New India. He said in the last 8 years, the government has left no stone unturned to empower the youth. Mr. Modi said every necessary initiative has been taken for the youth. These include new education policy, expansion of IITs and IIMs, new startups and unicorns, and Khelo India Kendra. Our first caller of the day is from Delhi. Mr. KK Mehra is online with us. Mr. Mehra, welcome to Market Mantra. Please put your question.
मार्केट मंत्रा की टीम को मेरा नमस्कार।
नमस्कार जी।
धीरेन्द्र जी के रिकमेंडेशंस पे हमने एक्सी लॉन्ग टर्म इक्विटी फंड पे शिप हमारा किया हुआ 5-6 साल से। अभी तक तो हमारा रिटर्न बड़ा अच्छा आ रहा था जी। तो आई एम रिटायर्ड सिटीजन अराउंड 70 years old। तो मैंने कभी पैसा विड्रॉ नहीं, लेकिन ऑफ लेट इन द वेरी रिसेंट पास्ट अभी पता चला है एक्सी लॉन्ग टर्म या दूसरे एक्सिस के जो फंड्स है उनमें कुछ प्रॉब्लम आ रही है। तो शुड आई कंटिन्यू विद माय शिप और शुड आई स्विच ओवर टू सम अदर फंड? दिस इज माय क्वेश्चन फॉर मिस्टर धीरेन्द्र। थैंक यू।
नहीं, माय सजेशन इज दैट just carry on. Anyway, your investments are with 3-year lock-in period. And the problem that has come up in some active fund, I don't know how meaningful it is or how it has really affected the manager who was responsible for the funds that did not include Axis long-term equity fund. But it is a matter of concern, but I don't think it is a matter of concern of a kind that you should redeem your investment right now.
और चलते हैं आज की दूसरी खबर की ओर। विश्व व्यापार संगठन का 12वां मंत्री स्तरीय सम्मेलन आज जिनेवा में शुरू हो रहा है। वाणिज्य और उद्योग मंत्री पीयूष गोयल सम्मेलन में भारतीय शिष्टमंडल का नेतृत्व कर रहे हैं। सम्मेलन में कोविड महामारी को लेकर विश्व व्यापार संगठन की प्रतिक्रिया, मत्स्य पालन सब्सिडी और खाद्य सुरक्षा के लिए अनाज के सार्वजनिक भंडारण सहित कृषि संबंधी मुद्दों पर विचार विमर्श होगा। भारत देश के सभी हितधारकों तथा विकासशील और निर्धन देशों के हितों के संरक्षण के लिए इस तरह के मंचों से हमेशा आवाज उठाता रहा है।
Dhirendra, you would have seen in the last few episodes there have been a lot of questions about Axis, although those fund managers pertaining to only one or two funds, but there have been questions about almost all the funds. And for the last few years, if you saw that Axis Mutual Fund has been ranking very high on almost every category. So would you like to clear the air here for many investors who currently invested in such funds?
Yeah, I would say that, read the newspapers, but you should not really act in a huff. We really don't know what exactly has happened. I'm quite, this is a concern, this is not a good news, because the nature of the problem is such that it is disappointing. But don't act in a huff and don't worry about, don't do anything in a hurry.
Okay. So that's Dhirendra saying that if you are invested in such funds, don't act in a hurry, but keep your eye on the newspapers in any case. Let's also tell you that the numbers that you can call us on are 2331-4444, 2371-7106 and 2371-7117. So if you have any queries about mutual funds and related issues, Dhirendra Kumar, a preeminent expert on mutual fund, is live with us in the studio. He will answer your question. So please do take this opportunity and call us. Another question that we're getting often now because of the situation in the bond market, because that's something that is changing very dramatically. And I was just looking at the various returns over the last 1 year. Liquid funds, which a couple of years ago would probably even give you 7 to 8%, now down to almost 3 to 4%. So tell our listeners a general idea of people who are, let's say, investing for up to a year or 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years, and more than 10 years, and looking for debt mutual funds. What are the categories that they should look at? We'll come back to that question. We have a live caller right now. Gaurav from Ghaziabad is with us. Gaurav, welcome to Market Mantra. Please put your question.
So how do you rate PMS versus mutual fund? If somebody who has risk appetite, should he consider PMS as an option? Do PMS give better return, and how are they performing in current scenario when mutual fund are more or less performing in sync with the market going down, mutual funds going down? Are PMS able to beat the market market situation? Thank you.
Let me just list you the advantages and disadvantages of PMS versus mutual fund. Advantages of mutual fund of PMS is that it will be exclusive service. There could be a degree of customization for you, and that is where the advantage ends. When it comes to mutual fund, the advantage is that it is a more tax efficient vehicle. In a mutual fund, the fund manager buys or sells anytime, or whatever he does, you are not liable for taxes. But in a PMS, every time the fund manager buys or sells, you are liable for the short-term capital gains or long-term capital gains. It has nothing to do with your investment in PMS. In case of mutual fund, you are liable for taxes for your holding in a mutual fund. If you invest today and take your money out 20 years from now, every tax is deferred to 20 years, and you will be liable for taxes only then, and you are not liable for all the internal capital gains and short-term gains and long-term gains created within the fund. Next is the regulatory oversight. How closely are they regulated? Mutual funds, they come up with their NAV every evening. In case of PMS, everybody's portfolio is maintained. The PMS company might be, or the PMS manager might be claiming a performance, and which will be reasonably okay. But the point is that, it is a claim of a model portfolio. It is not a claim which is of an audited number, which is calculated every day, and it is not the NAV of a mutual fund is not a number. It is the money that you the money that you invest and the money at which you take the money out. So it has to be, that is the price. So in that sense, it is far more transparent. Now, the regulatory oversight, mutual funds are very tightly regulated. The ticket size, with your 5,000 rupee, 10,000 rupees, the PMS fellow won't let you come anywhere nearby. The ticket size required for mutual fund is very, very high. Then the kind of public scrutiny that mutual fund has. Also, I see that, if a fund company is offering a PMS and the fund and a mutual fund, they normally deploy their smarter, better guys on the mutual fund simply because it makes more business sense.
और दिल्ली से हमारे श्रोता JS आहूजा जी लाइन पे हैं। आहूजा जी नमस्कार, बताइए क्या पूछना चाहते हैं। हेलो आहूजा जी, आप लाइन पे हैं।
आई एम जयेश आहूजा।
जी जी, सवाल पूछिए आहूजा जी।
नॉट आहूजा, जयेश आहूजा फ्रॉम न्यू दिल्ली। कैन आई आस्क द क्वेश्चन?
Yes, please, sir. Go ahead.
Dhirendra ji, good evening. The entire Market team. My question is that which option is better? Buying 3 multi-cap funds or buying, one mid-cap, one small-cap and one large-cap? If you have to buy only 3 funds in the entire life. And please name one good mutual fund of each category: mid-cap, small-cap and large-cap. Thank you.
Matter of choice, but I would say having one multi-cap, a flexi-cap fund might be a little problematic in the sense that I'm facing a problem. Most of the multi-cap funds, whenever they are turning big, they are reducing their allocation to small caps and mid caps. Of course, they claim that, it is happening naturally, but the moment the fund becomes more than 10,000, 15,000 crores, it naturally becomes very difficult for them to have a meaningful allocation to small caps. Because, having 25% sometimes, will be too much of a small cap allocation given its size. So in that sense, having a large cap, mid cap, multi cap could be an easier thing. Could be a way to ensure that you have a meaningful allocation to the small and mid cap, and which I think is very important. Because if you're holding for 10, 15, 20 years, if you have that kind of investment time frame, this is where you have the promise. And large cap, one should have for the stability. And and in large cap category, the active funds have lost their story, lost their plot, so to say. Because more and more large cap funds are finding it extremely difficult to beat the benchmark, beat the large cap index consistently. And also, the large cap index are so cheap that, every active fund has to deliver 1.25% more every year to match the index. So that itself becomes a difficult thing, and that is a choice, and that is an option which is available to every investor. So I would say that, today it is possible to have a large cap, mid cap and small cap and ensure with that in mind, but that is meant for a disciplined, long-term, understanding investor. For sake of convenience, there is always a payoff. And with that in mind, I think the flexi cap funds are easy way. You just invest and don't worry much.
And would you recommend any mid-cap and small-cap as Saluja Sahab was seeking?
I would, as I was saying that, the large cap should be
Index funds.
The index funds. The mid-cap, of course, I can list quite a few. The DSP mid-cap or the Kotak Emerging or the among small-cap DSP and SPS small-cap, they're quite promising. And of course, large cap, there are a good number of, flexi cap funds worth investing. And, but that is a matter of convenience.
All right. Mahesh from Delhi is our next caller. Mahesh, welcome to Market Mantra. Please put your question.
Yeah, good evening, sir. I have actually 2 questions.
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. One is, see, nowadays there is a concept called, the FIRE, actually, Financially Independent Retire Early concept.
Sorry. I could not really understand.
Financially independent, retire early.
Okay.
FIRE concept. The FIRE concept, can we achieve by investing only in the mutual funds? If yes, what is your guidelines? That is one question.
Yeah.
Then second question, previously, let me say I've invested in liquid for whatever. I don't want to depend on any banking or whatever. If I require money, previously the Reliance and all, they have actually ATM card associated with that particular fund. So I can go directly to the bank actually. I withdraw the amount from the ATM. So the respective units used to get direct. But I think I don't see any such scheme in the market. So in such type of in those things and all, what do you suggest actually? I don't want to depend on the bank at all.
You really don't want to depend on bank, but bank is not avoidable. And the bank is not avoidable because it becomes a means. Even in investing in a mutual fund, you can't go take your cash to a mutual fund invest. The money always, and for investing in a mutual fund, the bank account is mandatory. So bank account is expected to, everybody is expected to have a bank account through which all his funds transactions will be routed. So with that, so maybe you may not consider bank as an investment. You can well do without a deposit, but to route your transactions, bank account is necessary. Now comes, for your liquid funds, think of a no-frills account in a bank with an ATM card, and that's about it. Today, the situation, the kind of return that you get on a liquid fund, I would say that savings bank account also looks reasonably attractive from most banks. So, for sake of short-term, your idle money earning something in a liquid fund, compared to that, a savings bank account might be a preferred vehicle today. Now, thinking of, being financially independent and retiring early, of course, it is very much possible. And for anybody to be able to do that, I think one should realistically look at your requirement. What is your current income? And adjust that current income by 5 to 6% of inflation to the year. So, assuming that you are thinking of retiring in 10 years' time, so and if your current requirement is 50,000 rupees, then imagine that if it grows by 5%, what will be the requirement 10 years from now? And which means that is the target amount that is the money that you require every month. Multiply it by 12 and you get your annual requirement. And then multiply it by 25. That is the amount of capital that you require, which will generate that kind of annual income, assuming, a 4% yield. And that will also ensure that you will have more money. So this is just the starting point. Then you will have to do some estimation of your emergency requirement or big ticket spending, child's education, or any such big thing which depends on, which could be an individual priority. So look for those big expenses, anticipate some emergency requirement, have that allocation separately. Your expenses might be different if you have a home or you don't have a home. So this is the method. That is the amount of capital. And if somehow, whenever you are able to achieve that goal, that capital target, you are good to retire. You can be financially independent and good to retire. But I would say that, rethink about it. It has become trendy. It is an interesting option to be able to retire early. And there are also avenues available. When I was getting into the workforce 30 years, 35, 32 years from now back, the primary option used to be, the primary option used to be getting into the workforce with your employment in the private sector, public sector, or with the government. Today, people are able to get away with their profession with some skills and as a freelancer, which can also be many a times very rewarding, but with inconsistent income. So for those people, they can get away with that. Keep in mind one thing, that we used to, the longevity is rising. If people used to retire at 60 and live till 75, today they live normally they live till 85. And this is not 10 years more. This is actually 66% more than your post-retirement living.
और यहाँ पर मार्केट मंत्रा कार्यक्रम में हम लेते हैं एक छोटा सा कॉमर्शियल ब्रेक।
उपभोक्ताओं तक पहुंचने का सुलभ और सस्ता माध्यम है आकाशवाणी।
आकाशवाणी के विभिन्न केंद्रों से कीजिए अपने उत्पादों और सेवाओं का प्रचार विज्ञापनों के माध्यम से।
लोकल और राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर कीजिए अपने बिजनेस का विस्तार, क्योंकि आकाशवाणी में विज्ञापन बुकिंग हुई बहुत ही आसान।
अब घर, दफ्तर या दुकान पर बैठे बैठे आप कर सकते हैं विज्ञापनों की बुकिंग।
डायल कीजिए 8700014242।
नंबर एक बार फिर नोट करें, 8700014242।
Welcome back to Market Mantra. We have Mr. J.S. Mehta from Delhi online with us. Mehta sahab, welcome to Market Mantra. Please put your question.
नमस्कार मार्केट मंत्रा टीम को।
नमस्कार।
तो मैं आपका रेगुलर लिसनर हूँ।
नमस्कार।
अच्छा सर, मेरे को धीरे जैसे सवाल है, ब्लू चिप फंड में मुझे इन्वेस्ट करना है। मैंने 3 फंड चूज किए हैं, एक कैनरा रवोको ब्लू चिप फंड, एक कोफेक्स ब्लू चिप फंड, एक मारिया एसएस लार्ज कैप फंड। इसमें से कौन सा बेटर फंड है, कुछ गाइड करेंगे धीरे जी? SIP करना।
ये सारे ही अच्छे, और एक अमाउंट डिसाइड कीजिए और किसी 2 फंड में आप अपना SIP की शुरुआत कर दीजिए।
We have SL Gupta online with us. Gupta sahab, welcome to Market Mantra. Please put your question. Gupta sahab, you're live. You can ask your question.
हेलो।
हाँ जी, अपना सवाल पूछें गुप्ता जी।
हाँ, मैं SL गुप्ता दिल्ली से बोल रहा हूँ। मेरे को म्यूचुअल फंड से रिलेटेड एक सवाल पूछना है।
पूछिए।
हेलो।
पूछिए।
हाँ, जैसे FIIs को या DIIs को या और दूसरी कमर्शियल एंटिटीज को शॉर्ट सेलिंग अलाउड होती है, म्यूचुअल फंड को शॉर्ट सेलिंग अलाउड क्यों नहीं होती है? अगर शॉर्ट सेलिंग अलाउड तो होती हो तो वो लोग भी वित्तीय मार्केट में हमको कमा के दे सकते हैं। थैंक यू।
रेगुलेटर ने इसके बारे में कई बार सोचा है और म्यूचुअल फंड को ये आजादी दी है कि वो अपने पोर्टफोलियो को हेज कर सकते हैं, लेकिन उनको शॉर्ट सेलिंग अलाउ नहीं किया है, क्योंकि शॉर्ट सेलिंग का केवल आप एक भाग बता रहे हैं कि अगर वो जो उनके पास सिक्योरिटीज नहीं है उसको बेच करके और फ्यूचर में खरीद लेंगे, यही शॉर्ट सेलिंग है। इसमें जब आपका कॉल गलत होता है तो इसमें आप दिवालिया भी हो जाते हैं। जो और एक अनलिमिटेड, एक काफी इनफाइनाइट अनडिफाइंड लायबिलिटी आपके पास आ जाता है। इस वजह से रेगुलेटर्स ने म्यूचुअल फंड को परमिट नहीं किया है कि वो शॉर्ट सेलिंग करे।
और मुंबई से हमारे श्रोता सचिन लाइन पे हैं। सचिन नमस्कार, बताइए क्या पूछना चाहते हैं?
सर मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
जी, सवाल पूछिए, आवाज आ रही है।
हाँ सर, ये मेरा सवाल है निफ्टी नेक्स्ट 50। धीरेन्द्र सर की वेबसाइट पे मैंने देखा था निफ्टी नेक्स्ट 50 की जो उन्होंने लिस्ट दी है ना, उसमें एक IDBI जूनियर निफ्टी फंड का दिया है डिटेल, तो उसका मतलब क्या होता है? और उसमें ना 4 फंड्स है जिसमें नेगेटिव रिटर्न्स दिए है। एक HDFC है, दूसरा एक्सिस है।
आपका सवाल क्या है?
हाँ, तो मुझे इसमें इन्वेस्ट करना है या नहीं वो पूछना है। नेवी का है
जी। निफ्टी नेक्स्ट 50 एक इंडेक्स है और निफ्टी नेक्स्ट 50 इंडेक्स वो है। निफ्टी तो आपको पता ही होगा कि भारत की 50 बड़ी कंपनियां जो कि नेशनल स्टॉक एक्सचेंज पे लिस्टेड है, उनका ये इंडेक्स है। और उससे अगली 50 कंपनी ये नेक्स्ट 50 है। तो ये भी बड़ी कंपनियां ही हैं, लेकिन सबसे बड़ी कंपनियां नहीं है। और अक्सर ये देखा गया है कि मिड कैप इंडेक्स को ये इंडेक्स का अक्सर बीट कर पाता है। इस इंडेक्स के पीछे सोच ये है कि ये जो कंपनियां हैं जो कि सबसे बड़ी नहीं है लेकिन बड़ी हैं, इनमें वो छोटी कंपनियों का रिस्क नहीं है और इसमें अपसाइड भी है क्योंकि ये बहुत बड़ी नहीं हुई है अभी तक। इस वजह से यही इनका इन्वेस्टमेंट केस है। और ये इंडेक्स फंड है नवी का और इसका उसका तो कुछ थोड़े नए फंड हैं। अगर आप इंडेक्स फंड में इन्वेस्ट करना चाहते हैं, बड़ी कंपनियों में इन्वेस्ट करना चाहते हैं, तो ये एक आसान चॉइस है। लेकिन जो इक्विटी में इन्वेस्ट करने का जो फ्रेमवर्क होता है कि आप लंबे समय का कम से कम 5 साल का नजरिया रखिए, लगातार लगाइए और कम खर्चे वाला फंड का चुनाव करें जो इस इंडेक्स फंड में अच्छे विकल्प उपलब्ध हैं।
और मुंबई से हमारे श्रोता पंकज लाइन पे हैं। पंकज नमस्कार, बताइए क्या पूछना चाहते हैं?
Hi, I wanted to ask if it is advisable to go for a lump sum option in mutual funds and to invest only when the markets fall versus an SIP option And is that dependent on also how the market will perform, or how is it likely to perform in the near future? So if I have, suppose, 100 rupees to invest throughout the year, is it advisable to go for SIP month-wise, or is it advisable to just wait when the market falls and do lump sum investment? If to say divide your amount by 5 into 5 parts and then invest.
It's the most difficult thing to do. And if you can do it, if you really know that, this is the low of the market and it is a good time to invest, nothing like it. But what I have seen in the last 32 years is that when the market goes down, then we get very fearful and we expect it to go further. We also are very fearful that, if I would have invested yesterday, it would have fallen more, or if I've already invested, it will fall again. So it becomes very difficult. Emotionally investing in a falling market and thinking that it has fallen most is a very tough thing. I would say that, you should think in terms of choosing a good fund. Maybe, try your hand, 80% of your money, just make sure that you are doing your SIP. Don't follow anybody. Don't even try and anticipate. Unless 1 or 2 years with your 20% money, try your hand with timing this. Now, if you are able to catch the market low. Because when market keep going lower and lower for a longer period of time and you have regret. Sometimes you miss the bus. What happened in the period of, something like 2003 to 2008, market started going up and kept going up. It never stopped. And it went up from something like 3,000 points on Sensex to 20,000 points. And if you were waiting for the correction, it never happened. So I would say that, even the reverse, opposite situation is often true as well. So I would say that 80% of your money, do your SIP, 20% attempt timing it, and you will get the answer in 1 year's time.
Javed from Bihar is online with us. Javed, welcome to Market Mantra. Please put your question.
Yes, good evening, sir. I am Javed from Kisanganj. Sir, here I am the query. The query is that I want to investment in SBI e-Wealth Plan, sir. So 2,000 per month, okay, for the 23 years. So, sir, in this case, how it is the plan can be assessed?
Which SBI, which plan?
SBI e-Wealth Plan, sir. SBI Wealth Plan.
Okay. I really don't, I haven't really looked at this fund very closely to give you a meaningful answer to this question.
Right, I think we'll have, Javed will have to be the last caller in this edition. Let's quickly look at the oil prices. Global crude oil prices rose for the 7th straight week. Brent crude oil prices rose 1.9% during the week to close at $122 a barrel. US crude gained 1.5% during the week to end at $120.7 a barrel. Oil prices have hit a record high and the cost of food has soared, leading to the largest annual increase in the US in about 40 years.
धीरेन्द्र जी, इस कार्यक्रम में शामिल होने और हमारे श्रोताओं के सवालों का जवाब देने के लिए आपका धन्यवाद.
धन्यवाद आपका.
Thank you, Dhirendra, for taking those questions live, and thank you for all the listeners for calling in and asking those questions. Before we close this edition of Market Mantra, a reminder of the headlines. The youth power of the country is the strong pillar of New India, says Prime Minister Narendra Modi. 12th WTO Ministerial Conference starts in Geneva today after a gap of 5 years. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal heads Indian delegation. And Brent crude oil prices rise for the 3rd straight week, while US crude jumps for 6th consecutive week. That's all that we have in this edition of Market Mantra. Namaskar.
Market Mantra.